What's going on, everybody? Polo Sports Talking Entertainment here again with another one. Be sure to hit that like button, sub to the channel if you're not a member, and also hit the notification so that you're able to get all of my content and all of my videos. Now, last night, the Lakers, they ended up losing to the Spurs 110 to 117. And, there was a tale of many things. Now, they have gotten beat by the Spurs before earlier this season. Uh, Russell Westbrook, Taylor Horton Taylor led all the scores, but Westbrook, Monk, and Carmelo Anthony all had 17 apiece, along with Austin Reeves, who had 13. And DeJounte Murray, man, led off scorers pretty much the whole game. Throughout, the whole game, for the whole game, he had 26, and Richardson had 18, and Potel had 18. McDermott had 11, and Johnson had 13. But DeJounte Murray, man, is emerging as one of the premier two-way players in this league, man. Uh, First and foremost, man, let me say that I like this guy's attitude, man. Uh, he doesn't complain. Started off a little shaky uh, at first, his first couple of seasons when he came in 2016. Um, the first season he didn't play that much. He only played 38 games, and then he also got in 2018 he didn't play that much either. But he's been nothing less than sensational this season. Even last season, one could argue last season because you really started to see him sprout. Uh, Also in this game too, what was uh, very great to celebrate was Greg Popovich too as well. And of course, I'll make another separate video for him. But he's tied for all NBA all time winningest coach. Uh, when they defeated them last night, and that's a remarkable accomplishment. You know, and I'm gonna do a separate video concerning Greg Popovich uh, tying down Nelson. Now, let's get to DeJounte Murray, the guy that nobody's talking about. This guy does not complain. He just goes out there, he cooks, and he does his job, plays both ends of the floor. Now, everybody talks about how all these guys could play in the 80s, or he could have played in this era, or could have played in that era. This is the guy that nobody's talking about, man. He could transcend eras because he has the type of mentality that no quit, never give up type of mentality. Nobody's really, paying attention to the Spurs. We understand that their record is 25-40. And they don't know that this guy is leading the league in steals right now, as I pointed out before. You know, this guy is going to be something in many years to come when things start clicking. And I know things are a little shaky right now. Nobody's really paying attention to the Spurs. When they really start clicking and he starts to really come into his own and get into his prime, you're gonna see an animal. He's already an animal. The guy is athletic. And what's also great about this guy too, is the fact that he's real. The game has already kind of slowed down for him. Uh, he's he's very patient with what he does for his age. He's not out of control. He's starting to get into a groove because, like I said, he's been in the league a couple of seasons now. You would think with the energy that he has and everything, you would think that this guy was, a rookie or something like that. But he deserved the All Star vote this year. And when he was in the All Star game, I was looking at this guy, man, and I was like, man, he's actually out there playing for real. He ain't out there to play around or anything like that. He was trying to get steals, and that's sort of what they used to do when they used to play way back when we talk about the All-Star game. People think that yeah, they in the first half or whatever, they were loosened up a little bit and all of that, but to some extent they were playing real ball. But I got to give a shout out to DeJounte Murray because nobody's really talking about this guy. I guess they look at San Antonio as, just trash, and rightfully so. That, of course, people are going to judge you by your record. Now, if he had the type of record that, let's say Memphis or, Cleveland, I'm talking about surprising team, or, you know, even like a Phoenix or something like that, then I guarantee you they will be talking about these guys. But even, what I find very odd too is that even when the Spurs were winning, they weren't really talking about them that much because they played basketball how it's supposed to be played. This guy is unselfish. He has good, excellent excellent energy. He doesn't take plays off. He's averaging right now 20 points, 20.5 points per game on 46.5% shooting. But what's more impressive is that he's giving you 9.4 assists, and on top of that, he's leading the league in steals. I think with over 2.1, if I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure that that's right. Uh, Let me just make sure that's right. And see, that's the thing. People like to sit here and they like to talk about all these guys that that really are not. Don't get me wrong. The media is gonna do what they do. That's what they're catered to do and everything. But they're not talking about the guys that really need to be talked about. Yeah, he's averaging 2.1 steals per game. I just wanted to make sure I had that correct. These are excellent stats, man. These are excellent stats, especially as a point guard. You know, he's a leader. He not only leads by example, but he's also leading vocally. I would want DeJounte Murray to be on if he can't get it done, if they can't build around him or put a team that's good enough for him around him, the Spurs organization, I would want him to be placed in a situation to where he can be able to have a chance to win and play for a contender possibly. Because I would hate for him, the worst thing that I would hate to see him do is to be like a Dame Lillard and the organization really, they did what they could for you and everything, but you never could get over the hump. And to Dame's defense, even though the hero ball, that's not what the NBA is about anymore, and they're moving on from that. But just to give Dame just a little bit of a pass, they did not do as much as what they were supposed to do. What's up with it, Jelly Bean? I see you in the building. They didn't do what they were supposed to do, you know. And I mean, they put guys here and there and everything, but they didn't want him contending for a championship. And when he made it to the Western Conference finals and everything, that was your chance to be like, you know what, this front office needs to do something so that we can get him over the hump and to contend for a championship. And see, I don't want that to happen to DeJounte Murray because you got to think about where he's playing at. He's playing the Spurs. The Spurs have expectations too, whether you want to believe it or not. Yes, the Spurs have expectations. They have expectations just like the Lakers. They have expectations just like Boston. They have expectations just like Golden State. They're no different. People forget that the Spurs were the team of the early 2000s. You got to think about it. Of course, you had the Lakers, but you also had the Spurs. It was either Lakers or the Spurs during that time, and then over time, you had teams here and there. You had Miami with the brief with their brief stint and everything, but the Spurs were always in it, so they have expectations, and if they didn't make you know, or if they didn't win a championship, they were at least making the finals. So that's the type of expectations that Spurs fans have. And I think it's a crying shame. Sometimes, man, like the homie, shout out to Memphis, man. This is his team and everything. I think some people forget, you know, and appreciate the success that the San Antonio Spurs have had over time. Did they repeat? No, they didn't repeat, but you can't take any of that away from them. That's been the knock on them is the fact that they haven't been able to repeat or they haven't been able to three-peat or anything like that. And some people don't want to call the Spurs a dynasty because they didn't repeat, but in a lot of people's eyes, they that team was a dynasty. When you talk about, well, let's go earlier when you talk about David Robinson, Tim Duncan, uh, and those guys, and then of course, the Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker era. What's up with it, Big Who? I see you in the building. This guy should be given much more credit, and that's what we do over here. I'm not going to sit here and talk about. We need to talk about some of these other guys that aren't being recognized, and some of these guys are stuck in really awful situations. But it's a learning curve. I think by next year, if not next year or the year after next, because you want to do it in under 10 years. Hopefully he doesn't get in a situation where he's played there for 10 years and then all of a sudden it'd be like because yesterday I was looking at well, not the documentary, the show Showtime about the Lakers, and you saw how angry Jerry West was, and you don't want him to get stuck in a situation like Jerry West where he was losing, year after year and everything. Now he was making it to the finals. I don't want him to get stuck in a situation where he can't even get over the hump. He can't even make a finals, yet alone, even the playoffs, because they're probably not going to make the playoffs. They're probably not going to go anywhere this year. You know, we'll have to see what happens because things can get kind of tricky in the West. But y'all, let me know what you think, man. Do you think that DeJounte Murray can be a force for years to come? I think he can. He's emerging right now. He's starting to break out, and he's only going to get better. But like the video, share it, subscribe, hit the notification. Polo Sports Talking Entertainment. I'll get at you later.